Hello there, everyone. Just going to wait a few minutes until it gets right to 3 o'clock, and I'll go ahead and get started. But for those of you that are already here, I want to welcome you to Abundant Wellness Podcast. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, it is now 3 o'clock, Central Standard Time, that is, to be exact. And I just want to welcome you all to another episode of the Abundant Wellness Podcast. But before I get started, I just want to take a few moments to say a belated Merry Christmas to all of you. Hope you are enjoying that time, or at least even a little break from the regular routine and busyness of work. I was able to take some time off, and my family as well. As you can see, I'm in a different room, not in the same area, kind of got displaced out of my office because I do have family that are visiting. So I wanted to make sure that they were comfortable in the rooms, but still here in Texas, still at the same 3 o'clock. Well, we are at the end of another year, the end of 2025. And I pray that you have been able to follow me and have me help you to go through this journey of health. And if not, well, the next time we meet, we will begin to start that journey anew and see what more we can do this time. Sometimes we bite off more than we can chew, and we start good and we don't keep up with it. I would encourage you not to do that, but to just take little bite-sized pieces and working your way up. But the next time we meet, it will be the new year. I want to be sure that I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year when it comes, because when we meet again, it will actually be 2026. So thank you for your support, for joining me, for your well wishes and your comments, and I really enjoyed this time being with you. And I was always very diligent to make sure we met all the time. If there was a day that we couldn't, I know earlier in the year, it was back in February, I had the opportunity to visit with and listen to Barbara O'Neill, so I had to kind of record it ahead of time. But glad to always be here with you, and I pray that you're getting value and help from it. And I just want to encourage you to keep up the good work, stick to it. Remember, it's always bite sizes, and then you work your way up from there, because it's more important to be consistent, than it is to try to accomplish a lot. Well, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Those of you just coming on, welcome, welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, well, there you have it. Your screen should be my screen right now. Again, welcome to the Abundant Wellness Podcast. Now, Abundant Wellness meets every second and fourth Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Every second and fourth Saturday of the month. So for the most part, it's every other week, but there are a couple of months where there is a fifth Sabbath. So in that case, 3 weeks go by before we actually meet again. But most of the time, for the most part, it's every other Sabbath, every other Saturday. So keep a note of that in your calendar, second and fourth Saturday of the month, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I am located in Texas, right on the border of Mexico. Bordering town is McAllen or Brownsville. I live in a city in between those two cities, but it will always be 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. So my name is Joanne McDermott. I'm a board certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner, and I am also a mental health coach. So functional nutrition, functional medicine, we're always looking for the underlying root causes for your health challenges so that we can get right to the bottom of it, right to the root of it, enabling or encouraging that healing through changes in our diet and changes in our lifestyle, and allowing you to experience improvement in your health, reversing certain illnesses, maybe all the illnesses that you have, but that's what we're all about, finding the underlying root cause so that that health challenge that you are experiencing can be gone forever. And we believe in that holistic approach because you are not just your physical being, you are your mental and your emotional as well, and your spiritual. One does not function independently of the other. All three are needed. Come together. All three need to be in a good state in order for you to really experience that true health. So that's what we do in functional medicine. That's what I do as a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. So I must throw out my disclaimer here before I get started. The information provided is intended to promote overall well-being and is not a substitute for personalized professional care. If you're seeing a therapist, if you're seeing a nurse practitioner, a doctor, a chiropractor, whoever it is that you are connected with in overseeing your health, please continue to see them. I am here to be a supplement, to be a part of that team, which I encourage you to be a part of that team as well. Viewers are encouraged to be empowered by learning how the body functions, allowing them to take an active role in their own health goals and decisions. You see, you know your symptoms, you know how you feel better than anyone else, and it's all of us coming together and sharing, whatever ideas or information or skills that we have to determine what is the best plan of treatment for you. I love to be able to show you and help you to understand how your body works so that you can know, what is normal, what's not normal. Sometimes we get used to certain aches and pains or way of being or feeling because, and just kind of write it off as we're aging, but no, every little thing, counts as a symptom actually. You're more tired than usual. You're feeling more aches and pains when you get up. That shouldn't be, especially at a certain age. So the more you know, the more you understand, the more you can be watchful. That is a great screening, just recognizing that, wait, something's feeling differently than it normally does. And the more you know, the more you understand, the more you can be watchful, the more you can prevent, and the more and the better decisions that you're going to be able to make because now you are more informed. So that is my goal. So we're going to be talking today about oxygen, or the air, the fresh air that you breathe. We spoke about oxygen the last time that we got together 2 weeks ago, and I was telling you all about, why oxygen is beneficial to us. Well, obvious, that's the air that we breathe in, and our body uses oxygen. Without oxygen, we would die. But I kind of broke it down and explained what oxygen does and how your body uses it and why it's so important. So today, I'm going to talk about the quality of the oxygen or the quality of the air that you are actually breathing in, because the oxygen in and of itself is not only good and beneficial and in fact essential, but the quality of that air that you're breathing in is also very, very, very important. Very important for our optimal health and our optimal well-being. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Why don't we? So a little review. The oxygen that you breathe in, very necessary for the body. We breathe in through our nose. I talked about that. Our nose is really the part of our body that's used for breathing, as opposed to the mouth. Not so much the mouth. Mouth is really a backup. But anyway, we inhale that oxygen, that air, through our nose, and then it goes into our lungs, and eventually from the lungs it goes to the heart. And the heart is the main area of the body that circulates the blood, that's flowing through our veins all throughout our body. Well, that blood, remember, it carries nutrients, but it also carries oxygen, because all the cells in the body need oxygen. Those cells in the heart, those cells in the muscle, the cells in the brain, they all need oxygen. They take that oxygen along with the glucose. Do you remember I was talking about that? You can go check my last post that I had, YouTube video that I had, the last podcast. But that oxygen, so your body, it takes the cells, it takes the oxygen and it takes the sugar, and it does its work inside and it produces energy. That energy is what gives you the ability to listen to what I'm saying right now, to understand what I'm saying, to sit up, to be awake and not be asleep, to think. It gives you the energy to do all of these, activities. If you did not have that combination of the oxygen and glucose, you would not be having energy right now. In fact, some people struggle with fatigue or even brain fog. So oxygen is so important to our health, our well-being, us feeling good. And in order to really get that oxygen, how important it is for us to breathe and to take that deep breath. Because that breathing deep, that gets that oxygen to get to our cells, to get to the parts of the body that it needs to. It helps with our digestion. It helps our brain to function. And when our brain is working well, all the rest of our body is going to work well. Remember, because the brain is sending off all these messages and neurotransmitters and signals, and making it so that your heart beats, or so that your muscles contract. So something so simple as air is so important. We even talked about toward the end of the talk about how when a woman is giving birth, and if she has some complications and the baby ends up not getting enough oxygen, sometimes that baby is born with what we call cerebral palsy. They have an abnormality. What happened is the brain lost that flow of oxygen, of air, and it created some brain damage. And a lot of times these children aren't able to walk, or they can't walk properly, or they never develop beyond the age of 3 or 4 years old. So something so simple as air and breathing is so important. I talked also about how to breathe, the proper breathing technique, and how we should be breathing with our abdomen, the lower half of our torso there. That's the part that should be expanding and deflating. A lot of times we breathe with our chest. We don't want to do that. That is a shallow breathing. You are not getting in enough oxygen if just the top part of you is expanding and deflating, or your shoulders are moving. That chest part should be still, and then the bottom part is what should be moving in and out. And so we want to make sure that we are doing that proper breathing, because breathing, as I said, it keeps us healthy. It helps our digestion to work better. It helps our brain to work better, which is going to make our body overall work better. It's just going to keep us healthy. It's going to keep us from feeling tired and fatigued. It's going to help us to be able to think more clearly. But that is not the only thing that getting good oxygen and good air is good for. Did you know that oxygen can also help to boost our immunity? Just by breathing will boost your immunity. That's pretty interesting. What could possibly be the connection there? It has something to do with lymph. So let me explain what that is, what lymph is, and how breathing in it of itself can directly help your body to detox and ultimately boost your immunity. Now, our body actually has 2 types of circulatory systems. Let's look at the one on the right, the circulatory system. What we know to be the circulatory system is the veins, the vessels, the capillaries. It's all of those vessels where the blood flows, right? The blood flows all throughout the body, very important. That's how it gets oxygen to the other parts of the cells, as we have talked about. But it's also nutrients and vitamins that are getting to the body from the foods that we eat, getting to the brain, getting to the heart, getting to our lungs, all the different organs, all the different tissues, so that those organs are in a healthy state. And so you just have this blood flowing all throughout the body from head to toe. That is the circulatory system. But another type of circulation of fluid is called the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system also has vessels, but it's a different fluid that's flowing through those vessels. It is actually a fluid called lymph. That's what it's called, lymph. And it's only the lymph fluid that is flowing through, the lymphatic system, the lymphatic vessels. And lymph is comprised of, it's a fluid, and it's comprised of like white blood cells. In the circulatory system, it's the red blood cells, but when it comes to the lymphatic system, it's the white blood cells. And it's also like waste and debris, old cells, maybe some old cells that have gotten damaged and or died, and it just needs to be taken away. It needs to come out of our bodies, and it's considered waste. But also in the lymph is dead cells, maybe bacteria, or certain organisms, a bacteria, a virus, or some kind of pathogen that has made its way into our bodies, and it is harmful towards us. And so those white blood cells will go and kill it or destroy it somehow, or if it's been destroyed, it would take it away. And the lymphatic system is kind of like a cleaning area of any of these wastes that end up into our bodies and need to come out. And it would take it to different stations. Those stations are called our lymph nodes, and they are located like in our groin area, underneath our armpits, and even underneath your chin. You ever go to the doctor and they give you a physical and they'll feel underneath your chin? Sometimes you could even feel it yourself when you know that you're fighting a cold, and you want to feel both sides at the same time to see if they feel like they're the same size or if one feels bigger than the other. If one feels bigger than the other, chances are one of them is swollen, a swollen lymph node. It's an indication that you are fighting some kind of cold, so these different stations, these lymph nodes, that's where the finishing effect of killing off these foreign pathogens takes place. And it just completely breaks it down and destroys it. And eventually, so it flows back into those lymph vessels, and eventually it does go back into the bloodstream, and the bloodstream is able to, through the liver and the kidney, able to filter out those toxins. So we are able to get rid of it either through our urine or through our stool. But that whole lymphatic system and the lymph nodes, it's a very big part of our immune system, because again, it has the white blood cells in there, which is responsible for killing any foreign pathogens or any kind of cells or bacteria that is harmful to our bodies, gets rid of it. And so we want to ensure that the flow of the lymph is well. Things are flowing well and things are moving along, just like in the circulatory system. We want to make sure that blood is flowing. We always want that good circulation, and one of the best ways for the blood to be circulating well is, through the exercise, because it causes your heart to be pumping more. Now, the lymphatic system and the lymph, it doesn't have a heart that it's connected to or attached to help the flow of that lymph to be moving along. So how does this lymph move along? Because that is going to be very advantageous to us to ensure that these harmful pathogens are coming out of our body, going where they need to go and getting out. So how do we increase that flow? How do we get it going? This is really interesting because there's no pump. Well, I'm going to share with you a few ways that are most beneficial to helping that lymph pass along. So one way is the trampoline, by just jumping. Actually, a one-person trampoline is called a rebounder, and just jumping, being on a rebounder allows you to be able to jump. You land and have a lot more, what do you call that? More of a cushion and like a shock absorber, and when you're jumping on a trampoline as opposed to jumping right on the ground. But jumping in and of itself helps that lymph to move. So it's kind of like gravity working, against and with gravity, and just that movement of your body up and down. I mean, think about if you had a jar and you put water in it, you put the top, and then imagine jumping up and down with it, or just having it in your hand and shaking it. The fluid will move. It'll go up, it'll go down. So it's that same kind of idea when you are starting to jump. That helps that lymph fluid to be moving along. Another way in which we can get that lymph fluid to be moving on is a massage. You can go to a massage spa and you can ask specifically for a lymphatic drainage massage. So they are just, pressing, along the muscles and, certain areas in the body. They're just kind of, like a massage, basically a massage, just massaging the area, and it kind of squeezes against the vessels of the lymph, of the lymphatic system, those vessels there, just kind of pushing down against it and allowing that fluid to move along, move to the next place. A lot of times when they're giving you that lymphatic drain massage, they will specifically use castor oil. But even if you don't have a massage, just applying castor oil on your body, on your back, on your legs, the castor oil in and of itself stimulates the movement of the lymph, that lymph fluid inside your lymph vessels. So these are just, and another thing that helps to really move that lymph fluid is the breathing. So that's why I was saying a couple slides back, just by doing that deep breathing helps to boost your immunity, because it helps for that lymph fluid to be moving along. And the better that flow and that circulation of that lymph, the better your body is able to, or is actually in the process of getting rid of those wastes, moving it to where it needs to go so it can eventually get out of your body. You see, when you're breathing, you're kind of pushing up against your diaphragm. So it ends up kind of squeezing those vessels again, stimulating that movement of that fluid to be moving through those vessels. So going back to breathing again, we want to think about what is the quality of the air that we are breathing in, that we are inhaling. Is it good? Is it pure? Is it fresh? What is the quality? Is it good? Is it bad? I want you to stop and think with me for a moment. Have you ever experienced any of these situations before? I don't know how many of you out there like to cook. Well, I do cook a lot, being a nutritionist, and every now and then I cut into a spicy pepper. I'm talking about like the habanero, even the jalapeno. Those aren't the super spicy ones. There's more, but nevertheless, these are spicy. Some are spicier than others, and the ones that are really spicy, when I start cutting into it, I start to sneeze. Does that happen to any of you? I have to sometimes just leave the room and walk away because it's fumes, from the spiciness of the pepper just gets to me, and I'm breathing it in. I can't see it, but I can definitely experience the effects of it. But it's not only spicy pepper that will do this to me sometimes, or to some of you. Have any of you ever been around an animal such as a cat or a furry dog or even a horse? My son, we used to have horses, and we had to take care of the horses, and he would be brushing the horse, and he would end up sneezing so much. Or sometimes when we would bring the food, the grass, how they make like a barrel of grass, we'd bring that grass to the horse, and just handling that grass, he would start sneezing. Interesting. It's just in the air, that's it. Or have you ever walked in a room, maybe like a basement, and it's dusty smelling or kind of musty, and you just start to sneeze? There's been times when I have walked into a thrift store. The thrift store sells used clothing, and I would find myself starting to sneeze. There's like a dustiness inside there. You don't see any dust flowing, but I'm just walking in this room, this building full of clothes, and I would just start sneezing. Or how about just walking into a room, or another store that sells fragrances and perfumes, or somebody has an air freshener that they have plugged in, smells really good, but it's irritating. It's starting to make you sneeze, maybe starting to make your eyes water. Maybe you might even start to feel nauseous or get a headache. So why is all of this happening? Because you don't see anything. All you did was simply walk inside of the room, and here you are having this reaction. And that is because there is something inside that room. It is not just air. See, air, we can't see it, but we do experience the effects of what's happening in that air. Now, I wanted to show you, I'm going to teach you a little chemistry here, very basic, but in chemistry, we learn that there are 3 states of matter. You have your solid, your liquid, and your gas. An item and the matter or the air, it's made up of molecules, right? When those molecules are close and compact, close together, that is when you have a solid item. So an example of a solid item would be the ice, right? You could see it, you could feel it, and it's pretty hard, right? Now, if there's enough heat, that solid will turn into a liquid. That is still a bunch of molecules that are together. They're close together, but not quite as compact as the solid. Think of a glass of water. Well, this is something that you can still see. You can even feel it, but you can't hold it like you can hold the solid. You warm up that liquid even more, and eventually that liquid will start to turn into a gas. That is our air. Now that gas, you can't feel it. You can't pick it up and move it, and you can't even see it. It's just in the air. And this is what this any kind of gas. The air is considered a gas, and so you have oxygen and nitrogen and even carbon dioxide. Those are all gases, but even though we can't see them and we can't feel it, we can't pick it up, it is there. It exists, and that's why we walk into a room. And when I walked into the thrift store, man, I started sneezing, or I'm cutting up the peppers and I started to sneeze. There is something there that has filled the air that wasn't there before, and it definitely is there now because I'm having a reaction, or you've had a reaction that you did not have before. It's really quite interesting and fascinating to think that the air, even though we can't see it, we can't pick it up with our hand, we can't feel it, it is there, it is real, and it's just as real as the solid item, whether it's your phone that you're touching or your shoe or a pencil or paper. It's just as much, the gas is just as much of an object as the solid is. But the interesting thing about gas is that we can't see it, we can't feel it, but rest assured it does not mean that it's not there. In John chapter 3, there is a verse in the Bible, and it says, "The wind blows where it wishes. You can hear the sound of it, but cannot tell where it comes and from where it goes. So is everyone who is born of the Spirit." So it's saying, when we choose God and we choose to follow Him and make Him a part of our lives, we are born of the Spirit. We're born of the water when we get baptized. They call that being reborn, but we're also born of the Spirit. And that just means that we change. We're not the same person. We don't like the same things that we did before. We don't do the same things that we did before. And we're living a more moral life. And the Holy Spirit, when we're baptized of the Holy Spirit, we change, we're different. And people will start to see and notice that change in us, but they don't know where it came from exactly and how did it happen. But there's evidence that it was there. It existed, because we're seeing the evidence of the changed person. And so a person that's born of the Spirit, they liken it to, in the Bible, it's likened to the wind. I'm looking outside right now and I can hear the wind blowing, and I cannot see the air itself. Like, I am looking at the camera, I'm looking at my screen and I can see the words, but when I'm looking at the air, I can't see it. I can't tell you what it looks like. I'm not able to describe it. However, I am able to see the effects of it on a windy day. Like we're having a little bit of wind today, usually like maybe a fall day. You might experience a windy day like you see in this picture. And what is happening here? The leaves that have fallen on the ground are now being displaced. They are stirred up and they're being carried over to another area. Nobody actually went down and grabbed those leaves and picked them up and put them in the other site. They just kind of moved on their own. That young lady's umbrella is going inside out. That man is finding, if I don't grab my hat, it's going to fly away. And you can see that his tie is just going, to the side. We cannot see the wind in and of itself, but we do see the effects of the wind. We can see evidence that it is present and it is having its effect among the things that are around it. So air is, it's very important and it's very effective, even though it's subtle, it's humble. We can't see it, doesn't show up, it doesn't say, hey, here I am, but it has a strong effect. So we want to ensure that air, that oxygen that we breathe in, we want to ensure that it's good air. We want to ensure that it's pure. We want to ensure that it's fresh, and we want to ensure that it's free from toxins. So there's no harsh chemicals, no strong materials. Think about your cleaning agents. I wouldn't recommend those air fresheners that you spray. And yes, it makes the house smell good sometimes, but there's other ways to make the house smell good. It has a lot of strong chemicals in there. Even the things that you wash your clothes with sometimes, it might, or your sheets. It might smell really great, but you know what? That's chemicals that you're inhaling, getting into your body. And a lot of chemicals, you know, buildup of these chemicals. I mean, it may seem innocent because it's just a smell, it's just a scent, but it is a chemical. And if you are inhaling these chemicals again and again and again, time and time again, it gets inside your body, and your body has to figure out what to do with it. It recognizes it as something harsh, toxic, can be harmful to the body, and then it has to work towards getting rid of it. Mold is the air where you live, where you spend a lot of your time. Is the air free from mold? Now, mold creates very small, molecules of mold, spores. That's what I want to say. Mold spores, they go out and they will contaminate the air. And you might not even be able to see these mold spores. So again, just the air, part of the air, but breathing it in is toxic to your body. Your body doesn't want that, doesn't need it. It's going to find ways to get rid of it. Now, some people have a very, very strong sensitivity to mold. Some people don't even realize they have that strong sensitivity to mold, but what can happen if you're in a home and it has some mold, you can find that you're getting colds all the time. You get over it and it comes back again. Within a day or two, you're getting the cold again, and your cold just doesn't seem to be going away. You're dealing with this for weeks, or months on end, and that's not normal. We should be able to get past our cold and not have it again, for several weeks or even months, or, maybe just a minor cold for a half a day or a day. We should not be getting sick all the time, and that's usually an indication that something might be going on. One of the reasons can be maybe mold, in the house. Well, regardless of whether you have a strong allergy to mold or not, it is not good for any of us, and we want to ensure that the air where we are spending a lot of our time is mold-free, free from any elements that's going to be damaging to our body or causing our body to have to work harder. So how do we ensure that the air where we are, where we spend most of our time, where we sleep, where we live, how do we ensure that that air is good, fresh, pure, free from any chemicals or any toxins? How can we encourage that good air? Well, we want to really work towards that area having a good ventilation as opposed to poor ventilation. So let's take a look at an example of a poor ventilated area. So the top picture there with the brown band. So that is a living room that has poor ventilation, because see, the window is closed. There isn't anything for the air that's encouraging there to be any kind of airflow or movement of the air. And those little dots kind of represent, the particles in the air that's not really that healthy, that's kind of harmful to our bodies. And, after some time passes by, maybe some of that air may settle in some areas, but you can see that there's still a lot of that toxicity in the air itself. Okay, let's go to the good ventilation, bottom picture with the bluish green band there, good ventilation. Notice the room, okay, so looking at the bottom picture on the left there, we see that the window is open. So you want to open up your windows. That's going to encourage some of the good fresh air from outside to come inside. Now, mind you, want to make sure that you are in an area that is not maybe in a city where you're just surrounded by all kinds of buildings and factories. So yeah, we got to be careful about that, but hopefully there's some trees and grass, close to where you are, because remember, the trees, they give off that oxygen. We give off the carbon dioxide. We need some of that oxygen from the trees, and those trees need the carbon dioxide from us. They gladly take it. and maybe that perhaps that carbon dioxide just gravitates to them. So it really is important and helpful to open those windows. I know sometimes when the weather is, well, here it gets really hot and we take advantage of our ACs, but we have those windows closed shut all the time. But even during those times, it's important to maybe when the temperature goes down a little bit more during the night, every now and then we want to open those windows, especially when you're doing cleaning and you're vacuuming, because we need to have that air exchange. It's also helpful to have a unit by the window that helps to suck in the air or suck out the air from inside the room and to push it outside. That's kind of like having the windows open, but it's just making that air circulation happen a little bit more forcefully. So that oxygen, that air that's inside, or carbon dioxide going out, and then that helps to bring in more of that fresh air inside. So it's just an aid to get the circulation from indoors to outdoors to happen more forcibly. And then if you notice, there's also a ceiling fan that's turning. So even if you have the window open, you have that fan unit, you want to ensure that that ceiling fan is going on. But you know what, even on those really hot days or really cold days, okay, you're not going to have the window open the entire day probably. So when it's closed, a way to just ensure that the air is just moving along, it's circulating, it's not getting stagnant in one area, is to have that ceiling fan on. And then finally, we have that apparatus, that appliance there. It says HEPA, and that is an air purifier. Some people have air purifiers that are in their home, in their living room, and all that does is it takes in the air and it filters it. So if there's any harmful particles, it'll actually filter it. And so that as the air goes out, comes in, and as the air goes out, it goes out more pure and more fresh. A lot of our AC systems, it has a filter on it because there's a constant circulation of the air inside the house, right? It takes in the air, warms it up, and then pushes it back out. Well, there's dust and there's well, I guess I'm going to say it's dust more than anything. That's just always circulating in the air. So that filter helps to filter it out so that by the time you're breathing in the air, you're getting a much better quality of air. So now looking at the picture over to the right there, bottom, look, you don't see any particles there. It has the window open. It has that window fan unit. The ceiling fan is turning, and they have the air purifier. That is the type of air that you want to strive for to be in the room, your house, or wherever you spend most of your time. Because, again, the quality of that air that you are inhaling is going to have a direct effect on your health. It plays a part, and it's going to make you feel good or it's going to make you feel bad. So breathing, it's important. We want to make sure we breathe well, we breathe deep, we breathe often, but we also want to ensure that that air that we are breathing is good air, fresh air, quality air, air that is free of toxins. So that is what I have for you today. And I want to thank you so much for joining me once again. And I would like to remind you that the Abundant Wellness podcast meets every second and fourth Saturday of the month at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Well, I pray that this was helpful to you. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and comment on my Facebook account here. If you see it on YouTube, you can comment there as well, but you're also welcome, if it's easier, to just dial that number and you can send me a text message and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Please also go and visit my website, journeytoabundantwellness.com. Tells you a little bit more about what I do. There is also a space there if you just scroll down to be able to do free consultation meetings with me. And if there's a health challenge that you're experiencing and you're just looking for some direction or guidance or some answers, maybe you've been struggling with something and haven't really been getting any straight answers, I'd love to be able to chat with you if you feel that it would be helpful to you. I am here to help and serve. And again, thank you for joining me. Again, I want to wish you all a very happy new year and looking forward to when we meet again. When we meet again, it will be 2026, and looking forward to going on this journey with you once again. Take care and enjoy the rest of your Saturday and the rest of your little break during this holiday season.